Executive Officer of Inova Federal Credit Union in Elkhart, Indiana. And I'd like to start off by introducing our RDA board members that are with me to help with the presentation today. We have Regina Emberton, who is the President of Michiana Partnerships. We have John DeSalle, who is the VP of Engineering at Hoosier Racing Tire in Plymouth. We have Dr. John DeSalle, or excuse me, we have Dr. John Affleck Graves, who is the Executive Vice President at Notre Dame. Dr. Pete McGowan, who's the President of the Elkhart County Community Foundation. And we also have joining us today Mayor Pete Buttigieg from South Bend. So we're very happy to have him help us with our presentation. Excuse me. We are very proud to be here today to put forward the plan that we've worked on to bring forward our communities in Elkhart, South Bend, and you'll see on our screen here we have a aerial view, a night aerial view that represents the state of Indiana, and the lights indicate where Hoosiers work and live, and our area is represented in the center up there, the large crescent that you see there. We have been working on our plan for a number of months, actually even longer than that, with several thousand people involved in developing our initiatives. We are very proud to put forward the method in which our 22 smart and connected communities are going to come together to utilize our plan and to execute our plan. We believe that the governor and the IEDC were correct when they made the statement that the Midwest can become the hub for attracting talent, retaining young people, and moving our communities forward. So with that, we're going to have a very brief video here, and I will bring this over to
Nothing gets 500,000 men, women, and children in northern Indiana more excited than being told something can't be done, or an idea whose time has come. Regional cities. And for anyone who underestimates what it means to be a Hoosier, here's a reminder.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon haze and all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining brightly through the sycamores for me. The new moon haze sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home.
Good morning. I'm Pete Buttigieg. I have the privilege of serving as mayor of the city of South Bend. One of the reasons we wanted to show that, not only a reminder of the context that we think we're working in and the great tradition of Indiana, but also something that many of those inspiring figures from our state have in common, which is the way that they faced difficult odds and embraced great challenges. It was not about ignoring the challenges that stood before them. It was about embracing them and using them as a kind of inspiration or even a kind of propulsion in order to achieve great things. And we believe that that's also true for our communities in the South Bend Elkhart region. Winston Churchill said that kites rise highest against the wind, not with it. And we believe that some of the challenges that we've faced are among the greatest things that propel us to excel right now at this pivotal moment in the lives of our communities. And so I'd like to take a few moments to discuss what some of those challenges are and the road that we've been on that has led us to this extraordinary time. Right now, our city is celebrating her 150th anniversary. It was 1865, a dramatic and hopeful year when we were formally incorporated. The last half century of that 150-year arc has been one of transformation and largely one characterized by difficulty. We were best known back when the Big Three was the Big Four. We were best known for producing cars as the home of Studebaker and all of the many companies, suppliers, and customers that went along with that. It's been 52 years since the last time a Studebaker was made in South Bend. And since that factory closure in 1963 and everything that went along with it, our community lost nearly a quarter of its population. Vacant structures in terms of both housing in our neighborhoods and industrial and commercial structures throughout the city became so common and widespread that when I was a boy growing up in the city, I sort of assumed that they were just part of the furniture. I believe that was something that every city had. Meanwhile, in Elkhart, the RV capital of the world, their economic structure meant experiencing the booms and busts of our economy perhaps more acutely than any other place in the United States during the Great Recession of recent years. Unemployment rose in Elkhart County to be the highest in the United States of America, jumping from 5% to 19% in just 1 year. So dramatic was this economic pain that it attracted the attention of the President of the United States, who visited Elkhart County 4 times just during that period of the recession, an almost unprecedented level of presidential attention and travel to an Indiana community. Because what was going on in Elkhart symbolized what was happening in the entire country economically, and in particular the fact that that crisis had evolved from a Wall Street issue to a Main Street emergency. Meanwhile, in South Bend in 2011, we found ourselves on a top 10 list that no mayor and no city ever wants to see. Newsweek published a spread on 10 American dying cities and characterized South Bend as one of those 10. In particular, in this reporting, they cited the issue of talent and the fact that 2.5% of young people had on a net basis migrated out of our community in the first decade of this century. But what a difference a few years can make. I'm proud to share with you that our region is in the midst of a swift and accelerating comeback, one that's rooted in what we've always been best at, making things, but also in new industries in fields of inquiry and growth that didn't even exist when the last Studebaker rolled off the line in 1963. And we're doing it by using to advantage what's best about us, a tradition of innovation and excellence in workmanship and production, an unbeatable work ethic, an exceptionally useful location, aided by infrastructure ranging from our asphalt and rail to our energy and fiber resources. And now the resources of a world-class research university that has come to embrace its role, its leadership role, in driving our community and our economy forward. So we know what we're up against. And I wish you could have seen former competitors huddled in the bus together on the road down here from Marshall County, Elkhart County, and St. Joe County, all very clearly knowing what we're up against, and it's not each other. It's those economic forces that we've been battling with and are now winning, positioning ourselves to be globally competitive, to be a destination for talent, a net importer and gainer of talent. And we're not waiting for anybody to make this happen for us. This is a series of communities that has a tradition of picking ourselves up. But when you have a vision as bold as what you're going to see. We also know that we're going to need all the friends that we can get, and we're recruiting allies. And that's what we're doing here in Indianapolis at this extraordinary moment created by the visionary Regional Cities Initiative. Our intention is to become known throughout the country as a region that puts people to work in communities where anybody would want to live. Driven by quality of place, proud to be the home of the University of Notre Dame and nearly a dozen institutions of higher education. Smart, connected communities, 22 of us in all, that know how to punch above our weight class, making sure that we're enabling the firms and the families that live among us to thrive and succeed going forward. And to share just how we're planning to do that, I'd like to introduce Pete McCown, President of the Elkhart County Community Foundation, to tell you a little more.
In 2010, South Bend made a different top 10 list, winning a prestigious All-American Award from the National Civic League for neighborhood redevelopment programs and a campaign designed to reduce high school dropout rates. November 2011, the renaissance continued as South Bend voters overwhelmingly elect Pete Buttigieg, the 29-year-old Rhodes Scholar, former Mackenziean, naval reservist, to shake things up. Mayor Pete is the youngest mayor of a city of more than 100,000 citizens. Mayor Pete, as you've heard, describes his ambitions for our region in distinctly millennial terms. There's bright news on the Elkhart-Goshen side of things as well. Earlier this year, Elkhart-Goshen metro area ranked 3rd in National Corporate Facility Construction Association rankings, the only county in Indiana that qualified for these rankings. The national study reported that Elkhart County has one of the best manufacturing economies in the United States. In fact, we see expansion of manufacturing operations, both domestic and foreign, regularly in our region, much like this headline about South Korean-based Universal Bearings selecting its Bremen location for expansion of its U.S. production. In July of this year, The Economist published an article entitled Reinvention in the Rust Belt. The author identified a template for the revitalization of battered Midwestern cities, much like in the South, places like Raleigh-Durham, where successful revitalization efforts are catalyzed by notable institutions of higher education. This article specifically identified the South Bend Elkhart region as well positioned for such a reinvention due to the presence of Notre Dame and a unique mix of complementary educational institutions. The future of the relationship between the South Bend Elkhart region and Notre Dame has never been brighter. I recall when I first arrived in this region, the university had a fence that bordered its perimeter, defined its perimeter. Today, if you arrive on campus or in the general area of Notre Dame, it is a part of our community. In 2005, the University of Notre Dame made a commitment to become a preeminent research university. Between 2000 and 2014, funded research grew by nearly 65%, creating a foundation in our community for innovation and entrepreneurship. Furthermore, the university has established several research centers and partnered with Indiana University to bring a regional medical school to South Bend. Unlike most of IU's regional medical campuses, a significant partnership has developed between IU and Notre Dame faculty in the fields of cancer, therapy, and biomedicine. In addition to reaching $182 million in funded research this year, the university has invested tens of millions of dollars more in research-related support systems like Innovation Park, a proof of technology center, as well as numerous additional core facilities and professionals to support the commercialization of applications flowing from the pure academic research of the university's faculty and students. The University of Notre Dame recognizes it can prosper only if the region that has been its home for the last 173 years is strong and thriving. Notre Dame's active involvement in shaping the future of the South Bend Elkhart region simply cannot be overstated. As evidence of its influence in our region, the university plans to spend more than $700 million in private investment on construction over the next 3 years, the largest facility investment in university history. Now, I'll give you a quick pause here in this presentation. As I'm rehearsing this in my kitchen last night, my 13-year-old daughter said, "Dad, you got to do something to be funny, right? You got to make them laugh. Don't just do an hour of this kind of work stuff." And so as I was rehearsing this a bit in the kitchen, as I got to this point, she said, "I got it, Dad. You should dress like the leprechaun." I said, "Honey, I'm just going to go ahead and read it, but maybe I'll tell that story." She would be so proud of me. Furthermore, Fortune magazine recently reported on the Metro Lab Network, a partnership between Notre Dame and the city of South Bend, one of about 24 partnerships in the United States, bringing together local governments and university researchers to use technology to address urban needs and economic development. In addition, Harvard Business Review recently highlighted South Bend's innovation in city government by awarding the city of South Bend the 2015 Bright Ideas Award for their work with the Drucker Institute. This type of innovative approach to government can be seen across the region, including the city of Goshen, which is regularly cited as an example of successful small city vitality by writers and social scientists across the country. In 2014, Forbes magazine ranked Goshen number 2 in their study of best small cities for jobs and careers in America. There is reason for optimism in the South Bend region, as you hear. As a region, we are working together to leverage our assets and build on recent momentum by developing an ecosystem that supports our smart, connected communities. In 2013, community leaders formed the Michiana Regional Partnerships to implement a marketing and attraction plan for the South Bend Elkhart region. The intent of this partnership was to deepen the collaborative efforts that were budding across our region. With the architecture of the Michiana Regional Partnership in place, our region was well poised to respond enthusiastically to the state's Regional Cities initiatives. In fact, more than 2,000 community leaders have collaborated in the development of this plan. North Central Indiana leaders fully embrace the importance of quality of place, and we have developed a strategy we believe achieves this. Next steps are already underway to build on the foundation of this regional plan with a full-blown strategy to ensure we are developing projects necessary to advance our economy and create the ecosystem to support long-term growth. The Innovate Indiana plan and our portfolio is built on 4 place-based success factors that are key to creating the competitive places and centers of employment. Each of our projects are intended to improve, as you can see in this visual here, density, connectivity, amenities, and/or productivity. The steering committee and RDA board is advancing 39 projects with a total investment of $703 million represented in the portfolio. These projects are designed to enhance various assets and close gaps within each community by addressing at least one of the 4 key success factors. The project portfolio includes a number of high-impact projects we believe will enhance the region and furthermore spur follow-on investment. We agree with the writers of The Economist, Fortune, Forbes magazine, and Harvard Business Review. We, too, believe that innovation districts are driven by world-class education partnerships. In addition to the presence of the University of Notre Dame, there is a unique mix and density of higher education found throughout the South Bend Elkhart region, including Goshen and Ancilla colleges, Culver Military Academy, Bethel, St. Mary's, and Holy Cross colleges, as well as local regional campuses of Indiana University, Ivy Tech, and Purdue. Over 40,000 students are currently enrolled at one of these colleges and universities in our region. 60% of these students are current residents who are deepening their knowledge and sharpening their skills. However, 40% of the students found on these campuses have come from out of our state or out of our country. Some of the brightest minds in the world are preparing themselves for lives of leadership and creativity in North Central Indiana. Through the portfolio in front of you, we intend to build a culture of innovation and a quality of place in our region that will create the kind of place they will never want to leave. Regina Emberton, our fellow RDA board member and president of Michiana Partnership, will now come highlight 5 of the marquee projects found within our application.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm so pleased to be here with you today and to have the portion to talk about the future in our region, which is very bright. The first marquee project that we're going to talk about is the Innovation District. But let me just say that we recognize that the plan that we put in front of the Strategic Review Committee is very detailed. We have 39 projects with extensive information about each one. So today we're going to provide you with an overview of the 5 marquee projects that we feel like will make the biggest impact and will connect the rest of the projects to our region. The first marquee project that we'll talk about today is the Innovation District Initiative, which is transforming Northern Indiana into a global center for technology companies. The hub of this regional innovation district is located on the southern edge of downtown South Bend, and it features 3 distinct attributes. First, the Four Winds Field area. Second, the Renaissance District. And third, Ignition Park. Each of these 3 elements plays a very important role in the innovation district concept overall. The Four Winds Field area is catalyzing a complementary sports and entertainment district to provide leisure amenities for our region and its growing workforce. This ballpark has developed substantially over the past 3 years. In fact, Andrew Berlin, who's the CEO of Berlin Packaging, he's a partner of the Chicago Cubs Major League Ballpark and owner of our South Bend Cubs minor league team. He's invested millions of dollars in the ballpark and brought a passion, enthusiasm, and vision to the stadium, to downtown South Bend, and to the region overall. When it comes to South Bend sports stories done by regional and national publications, they're not solely about Notre Dame football anymore. Now they're also about the South Bend Cubs and the Four Winds Field. This year, the ballpark set record attendance with nearly 350,000 people attending the games. The Renaissance District, located in the center of the Innovation District, is a collection of former Studebaker facilities, including the headquarters building and a former manufacturing factory, which are now poised to become the Midwest's largest mixed-use technology campus through the adaptive reuse of nearly 1.1 million square feet of vacant buildings. There are several phases to this massive Renaissance District project, and we included 3 of those in our regional development plan. First, building number 113, which will redevelop a vacant and blighted portion of the building to offer co-location opportunities, which will create a density of entrepreneurship and STEM programming to promote innovation. Second, the redevelopment of the Studebaker factory building will transform building number 84 into a data center, research and technology office space, residential apartments, and a parking structure to accommodate those uses. This project will adaptively reuse over 500,000 square feet, providing a technology hub with a live-work environment for millennials, technologists, and researchers. The Studebaker Administration Building project, which is set to occur next year, provides for the reuse of the 150,000 square foot building into an office location for a technology company. The third component of the Innovation District is Ignition Park. This 140-acre tech park was built on the old Studebaker grounds and is a key infrastructure component to the Innovation District. Abandoned buildings on the Innovation District were demolished in an aggressive brownfield reclamation effort in making way for high-tech manufacturing, commercialization, and an office complex. This is one of the locations that make up Indiana's first two-site state-certified technology park, with the other site, its sister site, being the Innovation Park at Notre Dame. In the fall of 2012, Data Realty opened in Ignition Park. They opened a 50,000 square foot data center right in the center of the park. And currently, there are 2 additional buildings that are under construction. One is a 50,000 square foot multi-tenant spec building that's being poised to open later this year and will offer innovative space for high-growth companies. The second is a 45,000 square foot building that will house the Notre Dame Turbo Machinery Laboratory, which is a $36 million partnership between Notre Dame, the IEDC, General Electric, the City of South Bend. This facility will in fact be the nation's foremost research and test facility for advancing the technology that's used in massive gas turbine engines. GE has already committed over $13 million to fund their research testing at this facility. Together, these complementary and synergistic areas form an anchor innovation district for one of our downtown South Bend and the entire South Bend Elkhart region. The accelerated investment in both adaptive reuse projects and new construction is sparking a true renaissance in our region. This rebirth is inspiring millennials, entrepreneurs, and former residents to come, live, stay, and join in the rebuilding of South Bend, from yesterday's Rust Belt to tomorrow's Tech Belt. And it's working. After decades of population stagnation and in fact decline in South Bend, last year South Bend saw its first population increase in over 20 years. Small but extremely significant for our region. Dilapidated Studebaker buildings that once served as a reminder of the industrial downturn are now a rallying point to put South Bend back on the map through technology. We'll talk now about a couple of projects that are helping connect our innovation district both within our region and to other markets around the country. Another marquee project is centered around the South Shore Rail Line. This project will improve the frequency, reliability, and speed of the train, a critical linkage between South Bend and Chicago and all of the communities in between. This is a $270 million, 8-year project that's supported through an active inter-regional collaboration between our Northern Indiana RDA, LaPorte County, and the Northwest Indiana RDA. Our regions recognize that by working together, we can most efficiently and effectively be able to leverage this asset. Our region is investing in major improvements to Northern Indiana's only commuter rail line that takes people directly to and from Chicago and reduces the total trip time to just 90 minutes. This physical connectivity is important because it makes a huge difference for high-tech job recruiting, quality of place, and living standards. Our South Shore Station is conveniently located at the South Bend International Airport, where 3 air carriers provide nonstop flights to 10 cities across the U.S. daily. South Bend International's multimodal terminal currently serves not only the South Shore Station, but over 1 million air, rail, and bus passengers each year. In addition to connecting the region to other markets by air and rail, our region has broadband capabilities that are second to none, connecting businesses within the region and to markets across the world. The MetroNet Marquee project fosters economic development by supporting business expansion through low-cost and unlimited bandwidth provided by our regional fiber optic telecommunications network. MetroNet subscribers have access to the largest concentration of transcontinental fiber networks in the country that run right through the Innovation District in South Bend and connect all of our businesses throughout the world. This puts our businesses on a level playing field with those in larger urban areas, and it strengthens our region's ability to compete on a global scale. The MetroNet Extension Project involves the construction of new dark fiber into Elkhart County and further expansion of that dark fiber throughout Marshall County and St. Joseph counties. Last year, a creative public-private partnership between 2 counties of St. Joseph and Marshall, as well as several private businesses like Hoosier Racing Tire, was completed in order to build a fiber line from the hub in St. Joseph County down to Plymouth. That project will be further extended in the MetroNet's footprint through our Regional Cities Initiative, where we'll bring this dark fiber capability to the other incorporated areas of Marshall County, including the towns of Culver, Bourbon, Argus, and Bremen, and notably connecting Ancilla College and the Culver Academies, 2 of the area's higher education institutions. A few months ago, the MetroNet announced another expansion that they're going through, which will expand that dark fiber to one of our region's largest corporate school corporations. And that expansion was funded by another unique partnership between the MetroNet, the school corporation, a financial institution, and a foundation. It's yet another first-rate demonstration of the collaboration that is happening in this region. That recent expansion to the school corporation also augments MetroNet's ability to expand further east into Elkhart County. Our last two marquee projects are focused on stimulating vibrant mixed-use housing projects in our urban cores in order to meet the demands for the millennial generation and others so that we can grow our talent pool within the region. The Elkhart Market District Initiative will transform downtown Elkhart into a vibrant, full-service city center by providing the full scope of recreation, residential, and commercial amenities that the community has envisioned together. And it will also take a bold step forward by creating the Elkhart Blue Zone. Combined, the Market District and Blue Zone projects will spur an active, healthy, and community-oriented urban neighborhood that takes full advantage of its existing assets, such as the Riverwalk, sports fields, city parks, and trails. The $127 million collection of projects that is slated to happen in downtown Elkhart includes the rebuilding of our downtown grocery store to better serve the community and to free up valuable riverfront space for the development of hundreds of new residential units. It also includes the development of a new community center and natatorium. And finally, it calls for the establishment of an outdoor field sports complex to stimulate the youth sports tourism market. To further engage that urban neighborhood that's being developed, nearly $1 million will be allocated and invested to connect those new assets in existing downtown areas, like the Riverwalk, to the Maplehart Trail and subsequently throughout the rest of the county. The South Bend Blueways Initiative also includes a collection of projects. These totaling nearly $65 million to be concentrated in the East Bank Village, which is a growing area of downtown South Bend that's well positioned to leverage our beautiful St. Joseph River. With North America's first artificial whitewater course and South Bend's first city park, the East Bank Village epitomizes the vitality of an urban downtown neighborhood. It offers two historic housing districts and one of the city's most lively and eclectic retail areas. Millions will be invested by the City of South Bend into a series of quality of place improvements along the St. Joseph River, from the South Bend Farmers Market on the east to Sites Park in downtown South Bend on the west. Those public improvements will include things like the new routing of trails to be near the residential development, adding bicycle and pedestrian trails and connections, installing and improving lighting, and serving the newly constructed Notre Dame Boathouse. And these public investments will leverage over $40 million of private development, which are going to stimulate the mixed-use housing projects in South Bend's urban core. These major development projects, primarily mixed-use urban housing projects, include a $30 million riverfront development to be constructed on a former brownfield site, which will create 90 urban housing units. It also includes the River Race Flats, which is a mixed-use building containing office and retail space, as well as 32 apartment units. It also includes the Armory Regional Culinary Hub and Lofts, which will increase vibrancy, create additional housing options, support off-campus higher education programming, and serve for our food-related entrepreneurs. These projects will make the East Bank Village a destination that continues to draw new residents, supports commercial development, and provides a signature amenity to the entire region. We recognize that even in just discussing 5 of these marquee projects, it's a lot of information in a very short time frame. So we will now share another video with you to highlight how these projects will lead to the transformation of the South Bend Elkhart region and the state of Indiana.
They call this Crossroads of America, 19th state in the Union, known across the globe for things like cars, corn, fighting for the underdog, simple values, and the kind of handshake that still means just as much as any contract we write or sign. And more than 500,000 of us in the South Bend Elkhart region, 22 connected communities, live, love, go to work, school, or both, every day, proud of what it means to be a Hoosier. Here, where there's a sense of electricity in the air. A unique, knowledge-driven place where crossroads have become connections. Connections nurture technology. And technology, innovation. Creating the most fertile economic promise in decades. Smart, connected, the regional cities of northern Indiana. Innovation at the speed of life.
I'm standing at the epicenter of a renaissance. The renovation of the former Studebaker manufacturing plant has been a vision years in the making. At one time, this entire complex was built as a city within a city. Today, with access to world-class power, connectivity provided by one of the top data centers in the country, and a forward-thinking town that's created an entire technology ecosystem around this corridor. Now is the time to connect all of northern Indiana.
Today, the railroad lines that run in and out, originally built to move people and freight, now move terabytes of fault-protected data cross-country through cables buried underground, feeding directly in and out of data servers right here in the Renaissance District. A technology park already attracting high-tech companies like Data Realty, Global Access, Purdue Polytech, Notre Dame and Focus, Indiana University, General Electric, and others. This will be a gathering place and a catalyst for companies, entrepreneurs, and innovators who fast-track new ideas at the epicenter of a connected region in a live-work environment that creates more urban density with commercialization and amenities that attract more and more growing firms. The old Studebaker corridor, now poised to become the Midwest's largest mixed-use technology campus, here in a multi-county ecosystem that nurtures existing industry while attracting and inventing everything new.
Feeding into and out of the Renaissance District, every city and town in a 3-county region. Even more, across the state line, through more than 50 miles of dark fiber that's looped through South Bend, here in Mishawaka, extending east to Elkhart and south to Plymouth. We call it the MetroNet. It gives us access to the world and allows companies like FirstSource to serve clients competitively across the country and to other continents. And we're extending it deeper and deeper into Marshall and Elkhart counties, moving massive amounts of transactional data 24 hours a day, helping businesses grow right here and compete across the world.
Providing the same type of backbone connectivity that companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google depend upon for their very existence, all as a not-for-profit utility designed specifically to attract new companies and dramatically improve connectivity for existing ones at a fraction of the cost paid in large metropolitan areas. Smart, connected, and close to Chicago, South Bend Elkhart, a region investing in major improvements to northern Indiana's only commuter rail line that takes people directly to and from downtown Chicago, the South Shore. Physical connectivity that makes a big difference for high-tech job recruiting, quality of place, and living standards, linking Chicago assets with ours and northern Indiana assets with Chicago's.
This knowledge-driven region already has thousands of new people moving here every year. I'm the president and CEO of ChemCrest in Elkhart County, a high-growth company that's always recruiting top talent. But today, I'm here in Marshall County to make a point. This is just one of the places in the South Bend Elkhart region where bright young people come from all over the country, all over the world to study. We're building an innovation culture in this region, just for them.
Home to the Culver Academies and Ancilla College, Marshall County, like every county in the South Bend Elkhart region, is blessed with unique colleges, academies, and universities that bring bright young minds to these 22 cities and towns from across the country and around the world. They're already coming here, and we're building a smart, connected innovation culture, complete with amenities that they'll never want to leave.
Amenities are important to quality of place. Hi, I'm Jerry Chavez, President CEO of Marshall County Economic Development Corporation. I'm here today in Elkhart's downtown because we're working together, and this is going to be one of the most spectacular waterfront improvement projects in the history of this community. The Market District project brings people back downtown. Planned amenities include shopping, sports facilities, beautification along the riverfront, and additional space for future development. This will be the most significant quality of place improvement in Elkhart's downtown for well over 100 years. And imagine, across north central Indiana, this is just the beginning.
Future Market District plans include a large natatorium, more residential space, and a river walk that connects with the City of Goshen's Riverside Trail. And a similar project called the Blue Ways District is underway on the east bank of the St. Joseph River across from downtown South Bend. The idea is to improve amenities and increase urban density by 2020, building population, attracting millennials, technologists, transitioning to the technology era by attracting and inventing exciting new industries and ensuring existing business and industries are plugged into and seizing upon every high-tech application and advancement possible from around the globe. Projecting a $703.4 million investment, with 60% of that investment coming from private institutions. "22 smart, connected communities with more than 500,000 extraordinary men, women, and children. Proximity to Chicago, Lake Michigan, long-term investments in things like the Metronet, our urban cores, the unique and enormous influence of higher education throughout the region, more of a distinction today, more of an asset than ever before in history. 40,000 people enrolled in our colleges and universities, coming from all over the country, all over the world. The brightest, most optimistic technologists and future leaders we've ever seen. Here, in a place they'd like to stay. A place they'll grow and maybe change the world someday. Here, in northern Indiana, the state that works."
There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And the support across the state of Indiana, particularly in north central Indiana. And Hoosiers know to be successful in the 21st century, we've got to think regionally, we've got to promote collaboration, and we've got to focus on quality of place.
Through more than 50 miles of dark fiber.
Bright young people come from all over the country,
The state of Indiana's 50th governor
all over the world.
and the Regional Cities Initiative, catalysts
Now is the time
for 22 communities across northern Indiana.
to connect all
Renaissance and innovation
of northern
at the
Indiana.
speed
We call it the Metronet.
of life.
We're building an innovation culture.
South Bend, Elkhart, Indiana's innovation region.
This is just the beginning.
Thank you. I'm John Affleck Graves, Executive Vice President at the University of Notre Dame and a proud member of the Northern Indiana Regional Development Authority. Let me begin by thanking the state of Indiana and the IEDC. Your foresight and vision in launching and funding the Regional Cities Initiative has already had a significant impact on our region. Regional cities has been the perfect catalyst, forcing us to think more broadly, encouraging our business and community leaders to come together in unprecedented ways, making us think of how we can sustain our initiatives through quality of life enhancements so that our region both attracts and retains the brightest from our schools, our universities, our state, and our nation. On behalf of all in the South Bend Elkhart region, we thank you. We began our presentation with Mayor Pete speaking of the past and the challenges we have faced as a region. Next, Pete McCown explained how we overcame these challenges through our resilience and our hard work. Then Regina addressed the present, outlining 5 core projects that we are currently undertaking. And finally, our video highlighted our role and position in this great state. Let me now talk a little of the future. 10 years from now, we will be bearing the fruits of regional cities. In 2025, we see a thriving, vibrant South Bend Elkhart region, led by world-class companies with a smart, well-educated, and entrepreneurial workforce. A region that is connected both electronically and by transport to every corner of the world. A region where each of our 22 cities and towns is integrated and a part of the whole. And a region that is a community in every respect of that word. A community with an exceptional quality of life through our urban cores, our trails and walks, the educational opportunities we offer, our arts, and our sports. The kind of place that attracts and retains highly talented individuals. This is our region in 2025, and we will succeed. Thanks to your initiative and your hard work, you have brought our region together and have generated energy and enthusiasm and commitment from every segment of our region. Led by the presence of our renowned higher education institutions, our history of manufacturing excellence, our accessible location, and our growing strength in information technology, our future is unlimited. But you can help. You can accelerate the pace of change in our region. You can broaden and increase the scope of our initiatives. And you can make that change more sustainable. And you can magnify the impact and the scale of that change. This is exactly what a catalyst does. It does not facilitate an already vibrant, robust, successful reaction. Rather, it jumpstarts a slower process, producing powerful outcomes. In short, regional cities can provide the funding gap that so often inhibits and restricts economic growth. By leveraging our region's own contributions and commitment, you can lead our region to a new era of economic growth, one that will benefit both its constituents and the state of Indiana. That is why we are so excited by regional cities. In conclusion, our vision is bold. Our plan builds on our established economic assets of manufacturing, education, and technology. It creates new opportunities for our existing workforce and the next generation of workers. It improves our quality of life, and it is funded by both the public and the private sectors. It breaks down borders and barriers. It has brought together political leaders, education leaders, community leaders in unprecedented ways from each of our 3 counties, Elkhart, Marshall, and St. Joseph's. And most importantly, it presents a sustainable set of initiatives grounded in reality that will provide a solid return on investment for the state and the region. We look forward to partnering with the state and the IEDC to make regional cities a watershed moment in the history of the South Bend Elkhart region. We stand ready to answer any questions you may have, but before John DeSalle from Hoosier Racing Tire and Marshall County facilitates that session, let me end with a few thoughts. We are the South Bend Elkhart region. We are a region on the move, and we are ready for action. No region will respond to you with more energy, enthusiasm, or passion. No region will benefit more at this precise moment in time from your intervention. And no region will do more to attract and retain highly talented individuals. We thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning, but more importantly, we thank you for the impact you have already had on our region. Please complete this tremendous regional cities process that you have begun by joining us so that together we can build a shining example of a smart, connected community. We thank you.
Well, that was a very impressive presentation. I've seen it a few times, and every time I see it, I'm so excited to be part of that North Central Indiana and to be a member of the RDA. So at this time, I know we threw a lot of information at you. I'm sure there's lots of questions. These guys are truly experts. They will open it up for questions at this time. If anyone has anything they need clarity on. Yes.
Yes, my question has to do with the viability of your projects. And I know some are underway, but you know, there's quite a bit to digest here, and I just want to have a sense for how likely is it all to happen. Anyone want to speak to that?
I'll jump in. The formation of our RDA has been fantastic for our region and specifically for these projects. But I'll just go back to the beginning. We had a steering committee that came together. Can't see me?
That way you don't have the regional cities.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't see very well. So, but basically they came together and we had these project teams. We had a whole process where they submitted the projects, and in those project applications they needed to say specifically where the 60% private sector financing was coming from, where the 20% local public funding was coming from, in addition to the state's investment. So we know that the dollars are there to move those projects forward, and with the RDA in place we have a new structure that's coming across our region and really integrating with the other initiatives like the Michiana Partnership, all of our economic development corporations in each of the counties, to ensure that we've got the infrastructure to help move these projects forward. So we have no question that the projects will happen and move forward. It's very viable, and we think that the scope and the broadness of the projects will be enhanced and the pace of them by the state's investment in the portfolio as well. Quantify the number. Sure, absolutely. So the total portfolio is about a little over $703 million, and that's concentrated in the beginning of an 8-year project term. So there will be add-on investment that comes in the latter ends of that. But the public sector funds, and I'm going to let Mayor Buttigieg talk a little bit more about that, come from a variety of tools that we have, such as TIF, buildings and things like that. And then the private sector comes from a variety of things as well. So our universities, our foundations, but mostly private sector developers. Most of these are bricks and mortar projects where we have real estate investors and developers, businesses and entrepreneurs who are starting companies, stepping up to the plate and investing that 60% or more in many cases. And maybe do you want to speak a little bit to the public side?
Sure, just briefly. So as was said, we've taken very seriously the need to show all of the different sources, and you'll see in the materials that were submitted on a project basis how they're put together. There are even a couple that are basically entirely funded by the private sector, but we think ought to be knitted into the texture of this overall initiative. From the City of South Bend side, just to give you a little color of how we're doing this, a lot of this is the use of TIF funding, and we've tried to actually reset the whole architecture of our TIF districts in order to better serve an integrated plan that takes care of our whole city and that also better connects and is more synergistic with what's happening in neighboring counties and communities. So for example, you heard about the Blue Ways effort that is really a parallel effort that knits together South Bend and Mishawaka and also reflects what's going on in parallel in Elkhart. Do you have a thought? We're also on many of these already substantially invested in them, and a good example is the Renaissance District effort, which is underway. That was one where we were able to use, partly able to use remediation funds that were available from some of the settlements of the legacy Studebaker site, and I think that's fitting as we're trying to carry it forward.
I would further comment, I'm at the Elkhart County Community Foundation. Those of us on the philanthropic side of things, Marshall County Community Foundation, St. Joe County Community Foundation, we in Elkhart, as well as then private funders, Beacon Health System, which is a regional health system. These two Blue Way projects that are two of the 5 marquee projects, the funding is there, frankly. We are actively pursuing those activities. The question is, how good can it be? Where can the state help enhance those projects? But I can tell you where the first $45 million of this redevelopment project in Elkhart is coming from. And it's now the question of where does the next $60 million come from for phase 2?
From a banking perspective, investment from outside of just the private and public sector, when I talk about public, I'm talking about local governments. When states get involved or the federal government gets involved in the form of either tax credits or, in the case of the IEDC, bringing actual cash to the table, when you're trying to bring in banking investment as well, that brings a tremendous amount to the table. That can certainly help move a project forward that might not otherwise get legs because of a lack of private investment, or possibly the local governments can't bring that money to the table.
Yes, sir.
If I stick with the theme of achievability, if you're selected, can you speak to what you think some of the greatest challenges to success will be in pulling this off?
I think some of the greatest challenges, and we at the Renaissance District, they've been using a term called believe. What is it, Sean? Permission to believe. And I think that's been what's held us back and been a challenge for so long, is that people don't have the ability to have this vision that's so grand in scope. And so if anything is a challenge, it's making sure that everybody is part of that coalition that's moving forward, not worrying about, is this going to happen? Because we all know that it will happen, and I just love that. I think we've gotten to a point, we're at a precise time in the history of our region where we do have the permission to believe and we're moving things forward. So that might be a small challenge, is making sure that everybody's on board with that, but the leaders are definitely moving that forward.
And I would just add that, as a member of the university community, I think this is a time where everybody believes that we only move together if we move together. And that has been one of the great things of the Regional Cities Initiative, is that it's brought us together. And I think there's been this real coalescing of that thought. And so, we now have that opportunity. And I think that's why regional cities in this round is so important to us, because it's a signal to the community that we can do this. If we come together, right, we can do things that, in all honesty, 3 years ago, people would not have believed possible. But I do believe now, across the region, there is tremendous belief that we can achieve what we have in our plan.
If I could just add a little bit, echo what John Affleck Graves is stating. In Marshall County, I represent a manufacturer, a major employer in Marshall County. This is the first time really in my recent memory of great collaboration, not just within community leaders in Marshall County, but in the area. In the past, we would draw border lines. We're attracting business, I'm hiring employees, I'm actually trying to hire away from someone else. Just recently, we realized that together, we're actually a better region, working together, and really the communication internally in this 3-county area. I am starting to realize, for my company to succeed, for the area I live in, for it to improve, for it to continue to prosper and grow, I need St. Joe, I need Elkhart County, I need Mayor Pete to continue to do great things in the city of South Bend. That actually helps me, helps my county, helps the place where I work and live.
I can offer just a couple other thoughts. One, it's supposed to be very difficult, right? We set it up that way, and any one of these is based on a lot of ambition. That served us well. It's only inspiring if it's ambitious, right? Candidly, the only reason that building, one of the main Studebaker buildings you would have seen there, the only reason it's still standing is because South Bend could not afford to blow it up, right? So the impact of having that, it's already now been purchased, it's already being worked on, and now the vision to have the lights back on there one day is inspiring precisely because it's so challenging, right? The other thing I would mention, just to try to honestly get at your question of what's going to be toughest, in my view, is that we have to remain kind of riding the crest of the wave and not too far in the future or the past. We spent a lot of time in the past where economic development imagination was all about how do we get Studebaker back in some way, shape, or form? How do we turn back the clock and make sure everything is exactly the way it was in 1962? We've moved past that, and it's taken 2 generations to outgrow the idea that we could get back to that and look forward instead. There's another flavor of development that is kind of out of the blue. Like, all right, we're going to get an NFL stadium, or we're going to make a biotech cluster and be the biotech capital of the world. Okay, but we don't really have any biotech, right? So there's another flavor that we're also trying to avoid that gets so far out that that it isn't really true to who we are. What we're trying to do is keep our own imagination a little bit ahead of where we thought we could get, but always rooted in what we've already got. And that's why you see so many efforts that feature an adaptive reuse quality. They're about taking something we already have, seeing a new value in it, and then using that value to push us ahead of where we thought we could be.
Other questions?
So if I could maybe jump to the sustainability part of this. It strikes me we're hearing some exciting things today, but on a going forward basis, it's always kind of helpful to understand why each individual organization thinks this is important from your perspective. So my question ultimately, why does education care about being part of the region? And why do the cities and businesses care about being a part of education, if you will? Why does that partnership make sense?
Okay, so let me start with that as a university, but really I think it starts in the schools. You know, it is for each of us as citizens. It's all about creating opportunities for the next generation, for our students, for our sons and daughters. I mean, that's the first place. Having a city and a community where they don't have to leave to get a well-paid job or to foster their careers, but they can stay at home and have a tremendous career. If I skip more selfishly, and we've been very open as a university, this is not about philanthropy from the university to the city. This is a recognition that Notre Dame cannot succeed and become a world-class research university if we don't have a world-class region, because we now have faculty members who come and they want to commercialize their research. If the only place they can commercialize their research is in Boston or Palo Alto, we're going to lose that faculty. We need to create a region that can support that. We need to have a region that can support their spouse. Many of them come with a spouse who's in banking or in HR. They're not in the academy. And so this whole thing of this region coming together, I think it was one of the really tremendous insights Father John, our president, had when he became president, when he said, for the first time we said as a university, we cannot succeed if this region does not succeed. And so I think there's a tremendous symbiotic relationship between the communities, the business, the type of life we have, the quality of life we have, and the jobs that we create in our communities. And it's coming together that we can make that happen. I'll let one of the others talk about the business side.
From the business perspective, as I said, I'm the CEO of Inova Federal Credit Union. Our corporate office is actually located in the heart of what would become or is becoming the market district. We all need money. If you're walking around and your wallet has a Chase card or a PNC card or something, you're dealing with a national financial institution. We're a local financial institution. Chris Murphy from First Source, who you saw in the video, they're a local financial institution. When you're a local financial institution, attracting and retaining key talent that used to exist in all of our community banks is a real challenge. So we have fewer, a lower density, I guess, of those skill positions, CFOs, IT professionals that specialize in our industry. We need to attract and retain those people. In Elkhart County, I can tell you that our unemployment rate has fallen, and the retention of talent has become even more difficult. We're seeing, even though we are at 4.5% unemployment, we still see a lot of those skill positions go to larger metro areas. We need to retain those locally. Quality of place is a driving fact for that. If they come to Elkhart County and we want them to live in Elkhart County, we need to have the amenities that are going to keep them there. And as I'm attracting nationally the talent I need the amenities in our community that will make them come to my downtown and say, this is the kind of place I can envision myself living. It's not the biggest city, but it has all the amenities that I need. And that's what the Market District project will bring for us.
Two more thoughts on what education means to us. First, very obviously, talent is critically important. It's the currency that communities are going to rise and fall with. And so everywhere from K through 12 into the university systems, that's deeply important to us. The other thing, and the reason I think the role of the University of Notre Dame is so important, is that we're not just looking at things we're good at, but also in order to have this plan really succeed, what are some things that we have that are among the best in the world? And you got to have something that fits that. And we've got that. And we don't want to fail to make use of that opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it all started last November when the IEDC came up to, they were actually in South Bend to do a presentation to share the findings of their benchmarking study. And originally, South Bend and our North Central Indiana region wasn't slated for a presentation, and we said, we're really interested in this. You know, we'd like to know what's going on. And they came up, and I believe that we had the largest turnout of any of the regions in the state because people were so excited to hear about what are these benchmark communities doing and how can we apply those factors here in our region to become more vibrant and successful. So at that initial meeting, a couple hundred people were there, and from that, a group of private sector-led businesses got together and said, we want to participate in this. We want to make this happen. We want to make an application. And we sat around a table, and this was led by people in Elkhart County. And you saw some of them in the video and, of course, here with us today. And raised money right away. I mean, sitting around the table to say, we know what we're going to need to make this happen. So we went out, we hired a consultant to come in and lead the process of engagement and really helping us identify those gaps and come up with the plan that you see before you today. We had a whole process of work group meetings. So we started off going to each county and we had some idea generation sessions. We then went back to each county and we had idea development. So the ideas that really fit with the theme and developing those. And then an open call for projects from people all around the community to get in. And you'll see, I mean, a lot of the people that are here in the room today, we've got all of our project champions. So we had not just the 39 that were included, but many more projects that were submitted and that will happen but didn't fit within the theme of the Regional Cities Initiative. And those project champions are still getting together. One of the stories, I hate to put you guys on the spot, but when it goes to that innovation district and looking at the project there, I mean, the way that the co-located uses came together, both the academic side, the South Bend Code School, and South Bend in Focus team, the IU group, we had all of these people, and they're getting together, meeting on a regular basis, and that's continued on. So the scope of that project is just developing on and on from where we were. So I think that's part of it. We now have the RDA, which provides an infrastructure as sort of an umbrella to our regional economic development efforts, and it doesn't stop with the Regional Cities Initiative. So on the agenda for our next Regional Development Authority board meeting, we have to talk about a really more robust regional development plan that includes not just the bricks and mortar projects, but the programming that's necessary and the other aspects that we're going to put in. And we're talking about funding that, and we've already got a lot of lead businesses and institutions that are pushing us forward in that direction, which is just so exciting to see. And we also have, at the other end of the scope, we have all of our economic development corporations, our chambers of commerce, and our business leaders that get together, and they're pushing the ideas up. So they're saying, this is what we see in our community. this is what we need to happen. And they're funneling those ideas into a group of committed leaders that will inform the RDA on the things that are necessary to really keep this momentum going to the next level.
Additionally, about 2 years ago, I was asked to co-chair a group called Horizon 4.0 in Elkhart County. Horizon 4, I co-chaired it with the mayor of Goshen. And that idea was to focus on quality of place. What do we need to do to attract and retain that talent I was just talking about? How do we change who we are so people will stay there? We have a net exodus of workers from our county to St. Joe County and neighboring communities every day. And that's great. It's particularly St. Joe County's healthy. They have a very healthy, vibrant downtown. They have a lot of things that attract our workers. So we talked about that, and we talked about how important that interconnectivity was. This predates our RDA, and this predates the IEDC. It was fortuitous that we happened to already be down this path and having these discussions before this initiative ever hit the radar screen for us. And we found that we couldn't, as a group, have that conversation without talking about our neighboring communities. South Bend was coming up, Plymouth was coming up, even Southern Michigan was coming up as part of that dialogue and that conversation, and what we could do to change that community to make it appealing. The people we had on that committee came from all walks of life. We had people from church groups, we had people from the political spectrum, businesses, education. Everyone was represented, and it added to our tally.
Yes.
So you've created a big tent and did a very nice job of creating a big tent with a lot of people. It takes enormous energy to keep everybody moving in the same direction and not bleeding off. Can you comment a little bit about how you're going to manage this going forward, what metrics you have in place, and how you're going to make sure that you're hitting key milestones to accomplish this 10-year vision?
I'll make a brief comment, and then I'll pass it back to someone else, because one of her questions was about how you keep everyone included. Ironically, the 4.0 that I was talking about, we started that over 2 years ago, and I have committee members that I haven't reached out to as frequently as I should because of this initiative, who are constantly asking me, what's going on? How are we moving these projects forward? What's going to be next on the radar? And I'm hoping that the result from this will help me answer a lot of those questions for them.
I'll give you two responses. One, we have had the great fortune of having designed the architecture of the Michiana Partnership. This work was happening before the state decided to pursue this regional cities initiative. This has now been the catalyst, as John described. And I think our body deserves to give acknowledgement to Regina Emberton for her leadership through her work at Michiana Partnership. She is the one that has been the shepherd of all of these ewes and sheep that are out there in the fields and the hinterlands and all the rest of it. So Regina, thank you. Secondarily, this is work that we're about collectively as a set of 3 community foundations. And we have been thinking about collective impact and community metrics for the last number of years. And if you know the Elkhart County story, we've moved from being a community foundation of $50 to $100 million to a $300 million community foundation kind of overnight. So we've had to be thinking about this. And frankly, the Notre Dame and Focus Group has been our partner in helping think that all through. It will be the work of the RDA now to identify how these specific investments dovetail with our collective impact work. But frankly, we've been thinking about this and working at it diligently for a number of years, and we're getting that wrestled to the ground as well.
I'd like to hand to Regina in a moment to talk about the project management, but just to me, there's 3 answers to that question of how you herd the cats. One is leadership, which we've already seen and heard about from our board members. Another is management, and I'll invite Regina to talk a little more about kind of the project management of this. And then the third is a prize, right? So the answer to the question, I think, is actually largely this. Even in my very short career, I've been around for a couple of false starts on regional development and thought to myself, the big thing we're missing is if there was just some kind of prize, some pot of gold that was available to us if and only if we got our act together, right? And that's why the vision of this whole initiative is so compelling to us. And you've seen that alignment come together catalyzed by this. I think you can see the business community is there, the educational leadership is there, the community foundations are there. Honestly, probably the last to arrive at regionalism has been elected officials, specifically city elected officials. And if you think about it, it's because of our incentive structure, right? We are constrained to think within city limits. It's just that's where our voters are. That's where we're used to we're used to thinking of the community next to us as the competitor. But I think experience has shown us that we will rise or fall together. That's just how it is. And when jobs emerge in Mishawaka, there could be a couple, one of whom lives, both of whom live in Plymouth, and one of whom works in South Bend, who are going to visit restaurants in Elkhart because they have a job in Mishawaka, right? Honestly, we've been the last to get there, but I think even we, the city elected officials, are now there. And so the alignment has come around beautifully, largely because there is this wind at the backs of cooperation coming from the state.
Yeah, just to get into the details a little bit more on the management of it, the RDA board is going to engage, as I said, on a strategic plan for the region that will be the next step of this. But we're also gearing up the two organizations to help with the support. MACOG, and James Turnwald is here today, has been an extremely supportive organization that's well established, has a great staff, and has ample funding to support regional economic development initiatives. So they've been handling all of the logistics and administration and staffing for the RDA board, and we have a contract with them to do that going forward. The Michiana Partnership steps in more as a collaborative role to help get everybody on the same page and make sure that all of these initiatives that are already happening across our region, to make sure that Horizon 3.0 and the Foundation's collective impact asset and each of our chamber and EDC groups' strategic plans are all coming together. And we met last week in Chicago with a third-party facilitator to make sure that we're growing our organization to have a robust staff that's prepared and ready to handle what we see as a great opportunity that we'll be embarking on next year.
I would just like to add one thing to the gentleman who asked the question. Why is this one going to work? This one feels different to me. This one has traction. I've been part of some other initiatives in the past, other discussions. They never seem to go anywhere. Mayor Pete very eloquently said that, well, this one has a prize at the end. And you're absolutely right. I will ask you for the award. I think North Central, as in our presentation, has done a really excellent job. We're going to show you how this money is going to get spent. It's going to get spent properly. If, on the unlikely event we do not win the award, things will still happen. I feel it. It's different this time. There's really traction. There's excitement. There's a lot of people who used to sit across from the table arguing who are now sitting side by side and saying, how are we going to do this together? That's why I think this has sustainability. It has legs. Yes?
I just want you to know that Tim Sexton did not put me out to this question. Mayor, you talked a little bit about Notre Dame, and for those of you on the committee who've not had the opportunity to be there first 20 years ago and now 5 years ago and see the transformation, I wondered if Dr. Graves, you might spend just a moment talking about the changes that you've made culturally in the institution, the financial investment you've made in physical buildings, but most importantly, the financial investment you've chosen to make in the faculty at Notre Dame, and how that ties into what you're doing here.
Yeah, thank you for the question, and Tim, I hope you did put him up to that question. Yeah, we as I say, we really took the decision, probably starting with Father Ted back in the 1950s, to be a world-class university, but it was really Father John's vision in 2005 to make us a leading, preeminent research university. And that's taken tremendous investment. And so very early on in Father John's presidency, I was EVP. I think in my second year, he came to me and he said, we need to find some money because we need to invest. We need to invest in our research faculty and we need to invest in the community. And so we worked very hard on our budget, and we found over a 5-year period, we found $100 million that the university could take out of its existing operations to fund these initiatives. And so the idea was to choose 5 or 6 initiatives only. Rather than take that money that typically happens across the university and you give $2.5 million to each of 40 departments and nothing happens. So have a campus-wide competition and choose 5 or 6 areas where we can be truly excellent, truly world-class. And then the issue was, well, what are we going to do in this community? Because the community, we can't have 5 or 6 really successful initiatives if we don't have a community to support it. And so that's where one of those items that came out of that was the innovation park. The concept that we had to have this innovation park where new ideas could come out, people could experiment with ideas, and very early in that plan was the concept that when we reach full maturity in that innovation park, we would love 50% of the ideas coming from the university and 50% of the ideas coming from other businesses in the region. It was not just meant to be a Notre Dame investment. So we've invested very heavily in building the research infrastructure, bringing the right faculty together. We just 3 years ago, they asked me to do another initiative on campus. I became the most popular guy on campus. It was found recurring money that we could reallocate. And so we did things like we took away cell phones from everybody, we took away all vehicles. Faculty used to get a 20% discount on football tickets, we took that away. So you can see how popular I was becoming on campus. But we generated $20 million a year, and we gave that to the provost to bring in 70 new world-class faculty members because we felt that could propel us. And so that's the investment we've made, and we've made a commitment to support everybody in our region. Anything we can do, any regional organization we can join or belong to and fund, Notre Dame will be there to help them because as I said to you, I'm going to be honest about it. It's a self-interested action. You know, we grow as the region grows, and we will fail as the region fails.
Yes.
So if you look 10 years down the road, both from a quantitative and qualitative perspective, how do you measure success from this initiative? What is the outcome, to build on Chris's question, the outcome and the metric, both quantitative and qualitative for the region?
I'll take a real quick swing from the business angle. For me and for business, I believe it would be leveraging the educational culture that we already have in our communities and doing exactly what the University of Notre Dame has started and already doing a fantastic job of, which is to innovate and use their talent to come up with new and exciting ways of doing things, whether it's technology or potentially products or services. You know, Elkhart County is I believe it's #1 in the country for manufacturing jobs per capita. So if we can come up with the right things to manufacture through these intelligent people in and around the universities that we have and build them right in our community, and then get those people that are building those items and those people that are coming up with these fantastic ideas to live and play in our communities, that's going to be a major win for us.
I can tell you what we've been working on the collective impact side. So all kinds of dashboard type data, but population growth, in median family incomes, median family housing values, unemployment, educational attainment, tax revenue to the state, tax revenue to local government, high school graduation rates, number of kids on free and reduced lunch. We could spend an afternoon and I'd be happy to answer your question in thorough detail, but Lex Dennis and Andrew Wayand and some of the other, Tony and the rest of the Unfocus gang, this is a set of Notre Dame and other university postgraduate fellows who are working on this project on behalf of our region.
Just to dovetail that question right there, Mayor, you mentioned that TIF was going to be the primary repayment source from the municipalities. Are each of these 5 major projects in a tax increment finance area, and have you guys done a full vetting of the bonding capacity of the community in order for the public participation in these projects?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna put my Scott on the spot just because I'm thinking about whether the South Shore actually is it runs through the TIF. I don't know if any TIF dollars are programmed for that. That's right. Okay. Or the MetroNet one, right? So, but the ones that TIF is programmed for, we're in good shape. frankly, up until recently, we had the problem of not having enough uses for the TIF money that was coming through. Now, happily, we have a different challenge, which is it's fully subscribed because there's so much going on. But we're not talking about, I mean, we're really talking about programming money that we already know we've got coming in and doing it in a way that maintains our top bond rating in the state, which I try to make sure I mention every time I go anywhere, because we have the best of any Class 2 city, and we're not going to do anything to put that at risk.
And so, you know, we'll be welcome to stick around and listen to the other presentations, but excellent job. Thank you all today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.